Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and I am here with my friend Connie. And
No.
together we are studying the Course in Miracles, the text. So let's see, we're reading from chapter 14, the Teaching for Truth. And we are starting section 7, which is sharing perception with the Holy Spirit. Okay. Okay, paragraph 1 here. What do you want? Light or darkness? Knowledge or ignorance are yours, but not both. Opposites must be brought together, not kept apart, for their separation is only in your mind, and they are reconciled by union as you are. So in union, everything that is not real must disappear, for truth is union. As darkness disappears in light, so ignorance fades away when knowledge dawns. Perception is the medium by which ignorance is brought to knowledge. Yet the perception must be without deceit, for otherwise it becomes the messenger of ignorance rather than a helper in the search for truth. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Because we are the mind that is the decision maker. So what do we want? What do I want? Do I want light or darkness? Um, and, that's going to be knowledge or ignorance. Okay. And we can have them, but not together. We cannot have them both together. Because if they come together, if we bring these opposites together, then the light of knowledge of truth dissipates, undoes the darkness or the ignorance or the error. So union means looking at our split mind, because the separation is only in our mind. It's only in your mind. And truth is union, because the wholeness of the mind then is the undoing of the split, which leaves only the truth. Does that make sense? That's the process of healing. When we have thoughts that are false, okay, and we look at them with the Holy Spirit, okay, who knows the truth, okay, the truth says, okay, well, those thoughts are opposite of the truth, so they can't be real. That lesson, let's see, what is meaningless is not a creation of God. This is not, God did not create this, so this is not real. I think it was one of the lessons. I don't remember if it was like 7 or something like that. So that is the light of truth that is dispelling the darkness.
So otherwise, we're in conflict, a state of confusion when we
We
have both going on. Yeah.
we do, because the mind is split, and because the mind
Yeah.
is split, it means that we're taking direction from thoughts that are true and thoughts that are not true. So the result of that, okay, is going to be inconsistency. And let's see, it's going to be inconsistency either in we do opposite things. I'm trying to go back to that chapter. I think it was chapter 4, was it? Where it's talked about how, or maybe it was chapter 2, um, the fear and conflict. So,
Mm.
yeah. So, back in chapter 2, section 6, fear and conflict, page 29. When we try to hold on to both, okay, we can't hold on to both. Okay. When we think we are holding on to both, we're really in the wrong mind, which is dualistic. Okay. So what we've done is we've brought the truth into the illusion. And so now
Mm.
we think that love has an opposite, and it's fear, you see? So that's what paragraph 5 here says, page 29. Fear is always a sign of strain arising whenever what you want conflicts with what you do. So that's what will happen, is that we'll have internal conflict because we're holding on to, you know, opposites, the idea of opposites. And then this situation arises in two ways. First, you can choose to do conflicting things, either simultaneously or successively. This produces conflicted behavior, which is intolerable to you because the part of the mind that wants to do something else is outraged.
Mm.
Second, you can behave as you think you should, but without entirely wanting to do so. So that also splits the self. And that's what it means here when it talks about deceit. See, line 8. Yet the perception must be without deceit. Okay.
Mm.
So to be in conflict is to not be completely honest. We're split. You know, I'm doing what I should, but not because I really entirely want to, you know,
Yeah.
or I'm doing conflicting things. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. And I'm going to be split because I really want to do this, but I feel that I have to do this. So I do that. But, you know, I'm not entirely happy doing that because part of me wanted to do the other thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to feel coerced, or I'm going to feel deprived, you know, something like
Mhm.
that. So either way, I'm not going to have peace. Um, and that's what it means, that in that situation, we are conflicted and we are messengers of ignorance. And it's ignorance because we're really not teaching anything when we're in conflict, right? So so we're not helping in the search for truth, but
Mhm.
we're not communicating anything either. It's just confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. Uh, 2.
Okay, let's see. The search for truth is but the honest searching out of everything that interferes with truth. Truth is, it can neither be lost, nor sought, nor found. It is there, wherever you are, being within you. Yet it can be recognized or unrecognized, real or false to you. If you hide it, it becomes unreal to you because you hid it and surrounded it with fear. Under each cornerstone of fear on which you have erected your insane system of belief, the truth lies hidden. Yet you cannot know this, for by hiding truth in fear, you see no reason to believe that the more you look at fear, the less you see it, and the clearer what it conceals becomes.
Mm-hmm. Because remember, we were talking about lesson 22, Connie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
what I see is a form of vengeance. So we were looking at the attack thoughts. Okay, those are fear.
Mhm.
Yes. So we want to look at those thoughts, because if we just project them, that keeps us from looking at them, because we're not accepting that they're in our mind. We're seeing them as if they were out in the world, okay, in the world separate from us. Okay, and so by hiding them, quote unquote, in plain sight, um, we protect them. um, and and so we have no reason to believe that the more you look at fear, the less you see it. You see, because the light will dispel it, so that the truth
So
is
what is,
hidden.
hmm.
Uh-huh.
So you see no reason to believe that the more you look at fear, the less you see it.
Right. We don't want to look at fear.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. But if we do, what we will see is that it will be undone by the Holy
Mhm.
Spirit. So it will be less visible to us. We won't be able to see it. So it's like a lifting of a fog.
Yeah.
And so the clearer the truth becomes, because that's what it's concealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the true self is always there. It's always with us, but it's hidden. I like the analogy I heard from what I used to do with the EFT, because what they said was, well, if you tap away at these layers, it's like accumulated grime on a beautiful wooden floor, after ages of use. And if you start polishing it and sanding it and clearing it, you're going to see the beauty that's underneath. Okay. And that's the true self. That's the
Mhm.
truth of what we are. So that's what we're doing here with the fear, is we're polishing it away by looking at it with the Holy Spirit. Um, because it's a see, the search for truth is but the honest searching out of everything that interferes with truth. So we're looking at our thoughts, and especially the attack thoughts, because the lessons were about anger, right? So we're looking at all those thoughts because they interfere with the truth that the mind cannot attack, that the mind is holy and without attack. To attack, you need separation. So you need opposites. You need opposition. So it's a whole thought system that we call the ego thought system, that is based on separation, on conflict, on different interests, on scarcity, on not enough resources for everyone, or on specialness. There has to be scarcity if we want to make something special and not available to everyone. We want to make it unique, and and be uh, and feel proud, or something, that I own something that is 200 years old and nobody else has it, or something like that, right? That's I want to make it special because nobody else has it, so that's scarcity.
Mhm.
Yeah. um, but truth, okay, is not an accomplishment, is not an achievement, is not a doing, because truth just is. That's why it can neither be lost, nor sought, nor found,
Mhm.
as it is there, wherever you are, being within you. So the only thing with truth is that it can be recognized or unrecognized. And that's what makes it real or false to us. So it's a perception. um, but our perception has nothing to do with the truth that it is always there within us.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if we throw fear all around it, we hide it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it becomes unreal, because we hid it and surrounded it with fear. So the
Yeah.
fear of God is one way to hide the truth of the eternal love of God that is unconditional and that is universal. It doesn't exclude anyone. It's not special. You see, we really want love to be special.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay, number 3. It is not possible to convince the unknowing that they know. From their point of view, it is not true. Yet it is true because God knows it. These are clearly opposite viewpoints on what the quote unquote unknowing are. To God, unknowing is impossible. It is therefore not a point of view at all, but merely a belief in something that does not exist. It is only this belief that the unknowing have, and by it they are wrong about themselves. They have defined themselves as they were not created. Their creation was not a point of view, but rather a certainty. Uncertainty brought to certainty does not retain any conviction of reality. Okay, so so the first line, it is not possible to convince the unknowing that they know. Okay, so it's referring to the previous paragraph. Okay, so if we don't recognize truth, if we don't recognize the truth of what we are, okay, and we believe that we are something besides that truth, we have made a definition, a concept, or an image of what we think we are. And that's what we believe we are. Okay. Okay. So, if I believe that I am whatever I've made of myself as an image, you're not going to be able to convince me, okay, that I know otherwise, that I know the truth. You're not going to be able to convince me, okay, because what I'm believing is a replacement. It's a block to that awareness, okay. So from that viewpoint, the truth is not true. You see, they're going to look at your explanation of truth, and they're going to see it, oh, well, that's just your point of view. Okay, so it's subjective. So what happens is we make truth subjective. We say, well, no, I'm speaking my truth. I have my truth. You see, it's not a universal truth, it's mine. Okay, and you can speak your truth, and we don't have to agree because it's subjective truth, which is meaningless. Okay, and that's why 3 says, look, truth is not subjective. Okay, the truth is the truth, and God knows it. You don't have to believe it. It's still there because it's the truth. The truth is beyond the level of belief. Knowledge, absolute knowledge, is beyond the level of perception. So perception, belief have no effect on knowledge, on truth. Two different orders of reality. Okay. 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 So opposite viewpoints on what the unknowing are. Yeah. So when we block out the truth, the mind that thinks it knows doesn't really know. It just thinks it knows because it has substituted perception for knowledge. And therefore viewpoint is valid and becomes my truth. Okay.
What did you say? Therefore, viewpoint is knowledge?
Yeah. In the world of separation, we look at opinion. That's why we go to experts and we say, okay, well, that's the truth. Because we need a
Yeah,
standard. We need a standard for truth. Where in the world is truth? Absolute truth.
nowhere in the world.
Exactly. So what do we base all of our beliefs in medicine, in money, in commerce? Where do all these standards and norms and rules come from?
In our own perceptions of things.
That's right. We look to quote unquote experts and we say, okay, what you say is the standard for what truth is, but it's
Yeah.
still subjective.
So nobody knows.
Exactly. Nobody knows. The ego
And
does not know anything.
right. And I understand that. I was thinking about, I was with a friend recently, and I asked her, well, what do you think you're doing? She's more along the Buddhist lines. And what do you think your purpose is here? And she came out with self realization and more understanding, or just something about the mystery,
Mhm.
kind of how that. So I was like, well, self realization.
Well, she's using a different word, okay, for
Yeah,
from what the course uses. The course is using recognition of the truth
we
state.
might say we realization, one realization.
Well, it starts from the bottom up. So it does start with the individual self believing it is separate, but
Mhm,
determined to see things differently
mhm,
because I want to see the truth.
yeah.
You know, I'm tired of fear and want to, um, I want love. I want to see the real world that is loving and not just conflict and war.
So then if I say, oh, the mystery of the world, that is just another perception of the ego rather
Well,
than,
when she says mystery, she's referring to what we're reading here in terms of darkness.
mm, mm,
Because a mystery is an enigma, it's a not knowing.
yes,
So it's another word for darkness.
not
So
knowing
yeah.
darkness.
So it's an undoing. So what she's seeking is the undoing of the mystery of the darkness to come to the realization, the recognition of the truth of what I am, of what we are as one
Mm,
Christ mind, Son of God, one creation.
mhm,
So it's really the same thing with different words.
mhm. Yeah, the mystery we're unraveling, letting go of what we've put on that mystery or what we think. Anyway, yes, okay.
Yeah, yeah, because what we've made is darkness because we've obfuscated the light of truth that is within us. And now we have to look at the darkness, which is the fear. Um, yeah. So to God, unknowing, it's the same thing as unknowing. There's a book titled The Cloud of Unknowing by a mystic, Eckhart, I think. Not totally, but another one. So to God, unknowing is impossible, right? Because the separation never happened. There's only light. That is the truth. And that is the only thing that is real. Okay. So it is therefore not a point of view at all. Okay. And when we make knowledge a point of view, we are bringing it into the illusion to the level of a belief. So then we make religions doctrine and belief and call them truth, you see? And that's why there's conflicts between religions, because it's not the truth. If it was, there would be no conflict. It's merely a belief in something that does not exist. Okay. And it is only this belief that the unknowing have. And by it, they are wrong about themselves, because we're going to believe that the truth of what we are is the image that we have made. And we are going to be wrong. Because how can we make an image of what we are if it's a point of view that's subjective? Then there's no certainty in it. So, yeah. 8, they have defined themselves as they were not created. So, their creation was, and so our creation is not a point of view, it's certainty. Yes, so when there is certainty, okay, you don't have to be convinced of reality because you know it. That's what this is. It does not retain any conviction of reality. So we don't have to convince anyone of the truth. Okay. They're not going to accept it if they believe that truth is a viewpoint. So there's no point in arguing, about what the truth is. So, because otherwise we're making it into a viewpoint too.
Boy, that's funny. Oof.
Yeah. Okay, number 4.
Okay. Our emphasis has been on bringing what is undesirable to the desirable, what you do not want to what you do. You will realize that salvation must come to you this way if you consider what dissociation is. Dissociation is a disordered process of thinking whereby two systems of belief which cannot coexist are both maintained. If they are brought together, their joint acceptance becomes impossible. But if one is kept in darkness from the other, their separation seems to keep them both alive and equal in their reality. Their joining thus becomes the source of fear. For if they meet, acceptance must be withdrawn from one of them. You cannot have them both, for each denies the other. Apart, this fact is lost from sight, for each in a separate place can be endowed with firm belief. Bring them together, and the fact of their complete incompatibility is instantly apparent. One will go because the other is seen in the same place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, so so the emphasis is bringing what is undesirable to the desirable. Okay. What you do not want to what you do want. So what we really want, okay, is happiness, joy, peace, tranquility, um, and we don't really want fear. We don't really want conflict. It's all suffering. It's turmoil, internal turmoil. It's very tiring. Let's see, it's exhausting. It's just a very emotional roller coaster ride. Okay. It's very destabilizing, all of that, disturbing, all of that. Okay. So, so, um, so when we bring those two beliefs that are opposites together, okay, by removing the dissociation, okay, it becomes very clear which is our true will, which is what we really, really want and what we really value. It becomes clear, okay? But if we keep them apart by dissociating, okay, we can make both seem equal and real, and therefore we can believe that love has an opposite, um, and that fear is just as real as love, um, and that bad is just as real as good. You see, um, and so what we think of ourselves is that we're both good and bad, okay, loving and fearful. So, and of course, that's meaningless, because what are we then? These are opposites. We're not really saying anything. We're canceling, they cancel out. So, so we have made nothing of ourselves, basically. So the dissociation is the block that needs to be released. And dissociation is just another idea for separation or ego. Yeah. And projection. Remember that projection, let's see, dissociation makes projection. So remember we were talking about the lesson and you said, oh, I was projecting all of the attack onto the world. Okay, well, that's a dissociation because there's a separation between myself and the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's how I keep the two systems of belief in my mind. So I'm protecting the separation through projection. Um, and so projection is very important in maintaining the belief in the ego thought system, because it's a dissociation of what we consider the internal and the external. Um, and they're both in our mind. So there's really no separation. Um, so yeah. And one will go when we bring them together because the other is seen in the same place. So what you did, earlier with your husband, where you said, oh my gosh, I was seeing attack thoughts. I don't want to see those. Okay. You you automatically knew right there and then that's not what I want. You see, because you were able to bring that together. You were able to bring that into your mind and say, oh, yes, that's what I'm seeing. These are my attack thoughts. So you were able to make a decision of what it is that you really want. And that's ultimately, see, the first line, our emphasis has been on bringing what is undesirable to the desirable, because then the mind is clear. Yeah.
But I think I had to look at, well, why, why am I seeing that? And then really realizing, oh my God, it was just my own fear about whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you were looking at it with the Holy Spirit. See, so you took that moment to really go into that and say, okay, well, what's my motivation here? Because we won't, because as long as, if we don't look at the benefit we think we're deriving from it and see that it's not a benefit, we won't let it go because we're giving it
Yeah.
value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. We have to see that it has no value at all. So to not want it.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 5. Light cannot enter darkness when a mind believes in darkness and will not let it go. So that's kind of what I was saying, is that if we value the darkness, we won't let it go. And so we block the light, Holy Spirit, from coming in. So we have to be able to see that it's not valuable to us, that it has no benefit, that the darkness is not serving us in any way. Um, Truth does not struggle against ignorance, and love does not attack fear. What needs no protection does not defend itself. Defense is of your making. God knows it not. Holy Spirit uses defenses on behalf of truth only because you made them against it. His perception of them, according to his purpose, merely changes them into a call for what you have attacked with them. Defenses, like everything you made, must be gently turned to your own good, translated by the Holy Spirit from means of self-destruction to means of preservation and release. His task is mighty, but the power of God is with him. Therefore, to him it is so easy that it was accomplished the instant it was given him for you. Do not delay in your return to peace by wondering how he can fulfill what God has given him to do. Leave that to him who knows. You are not asked to do mighty tasks yourself. You are merely asked to do the little he suggests you do, trusting him only to the small extent of believing that. If he asks it, you can do it. You will see how easily all that he asks can be accomplished. Okay, so truth does not struggle against ignorance, and love does not attack fear. Um, so the healing of the mind is very let's see, is directed by the Holy Spirit, um, and it is a very gentle process that we need not be afraid of, because it's not let's see, what needs no protection does not defend itself, because it has no attack at all in it. Um, the idea of attack and defense, that's of our own making, because it's based on fear. The idea of protection and defense, that's all based on fear. And to God, and that's meaningless. Um, so, so what the Holy Spirit does is it uses everything that we made as an ego, believing to be an ego, um, on behalf of truth. And let's see, how does it, his perception of them merely changes them into a call for love, okay, which is a call for what you have attacked with them. So we think we can attack love, okay? We can't, but that's what defenses do. It's a belief that, um, you know, um, that, well, because it's a belief that God can attack us also. That's why we're afraid of God. So we believe that, if we believe we can sin against God, we're going to believe that God is going to come after us to punish us, or to send us to hell when we die, or so we think God's going to come and kill us and destroy us. So we've completely misperceived love. Um, and so the Holy Spirit uses the defenses, um, and perceives them as a call for love, so that we don't feel threatened. If is angry, or someone is projecting, guilt or condemnation or accusations or whatever. And we learn to see them with the Holy Spirit and see that it's a call for love and forgive. Um, so, so that's why we forgive ourselves when we also judge ourselves as having done something bad, or um, condemn ourselves for whatever reason. Um, so that instead of using them to punish ourselves, self-destruction here, um, we use them as a means of preservation and release. So that we don't need we don't need to go into believing that suffering is redemption, that I'm paying for my sins, and so that it's a good thing. You see? um, um, because it goes all around, because that follows from the idea of sacrifice and crucifixion as redemption, which is upside down. Um, so um, and I guess the last part of the paragraph is just saying that, we don't really have to be, it's not healing is not an accomplishment, so that we leave it to the Holy Spirit. And the only thing that we need to do is just trust. Leave that to him who knows. Line 12. Okay. You're not asked to do mighty tasks yourself. You're merely asked to do the little he suggests you do, trusting him only to the small extent of believing that if he asks it, you can do it. Okay. Um, yeah, so it's not, we don't have to judge, the enormity of the problem here. We just have to trust that the Holy Spirit is in charge, and trust.
Yeah, we don't have to do that. I was just looking at the title of the section, sharing perception. Yeah, we share it with
Yeah, with the Holy
the
Spirit.
Holy
So
Spirit.
yeah, so
That's good.
that's
I like it.
yeah, that's sharing true perception. And true perception is really
Mhm,
just it's an alignment with
mhm,
truth. So the
yeah,
beliefs are in alignment with the truth.
mhm. Okay. The Holy Spirit asks of you but this: bring to him every secret you have locked away from him. Open every door to him and bid him enter the darkness and lighten it away. At your request, he enters gladly. He brings the light to darkness if you make the darkness open to him. But what you hide, he cannot look upon. He sees for you, and unless you look with him, he cannot see. The vision of Christ is not for him alone, but for him with you. Bring therefore all your dark and secret thoughts to him, and look upon them with him. He holds the light, and you the darkness. They cannot coexist when both of you together look on them. His judgment must prevail, and he will give it to you as you join your perception to his.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's a process, of looking at, for example, a lot of our past memories. So I've been doing that more this week, and um, it's so any past memory is really a good subject matter to look at with the Holy Spirit. That would be, all your dark and secret thoughts, and look upon them with Him. Um, because all of the past memories are not real. Let's see, what did the lesson say? They are thoughts that are images that we have made that are not neutral. Okay, so they hold a partial, a bias. They are not whole. They're not thoughts of God. They're thoughts that we made as images, and they're distorted. So anything from the past is good material to bring to the Holy Spirit for healing.
So, and in that, let's say you have a bunch of old thoughts, memories, but kind of around a certain thing, you could just bring, I'm not quite sure how to bring it all to the Holy Spirit. I had kind of it like what you're talking about, looking at, I wasn't really looking for it, but they all popped into my psyche or whatever. A television show I watched triggered a whole bunch of dysfunction
Okay,
from, yeah, this family. And I was like, oh, where's all this coming from? This feels terrible. And I don't really like to look at it. And
right,
so, yeah, I was asking, okay, show me how to see this differently. I mean,
right.
is that what you do?
Yes, but I also use the lessons. So if you go to the lessons, lesson 15, you want to look at that and say, this blank is an image that I have made. So you want to recognize that it's something I made. It's not a God creation. Okay.
Mm,
And this thought about so and so, that's lesson 16, is not a neutral thought.
right.
Okay, because I have no neutral thoughts. Okay, and so, and then lesson 14. Okay, God did not create this image that I made that is not neutral. Okay, and so it is not real.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I also like to use, Holy Spirit, decide for me for God. So right away, when I notice something, if you tune into something, so right away you want to go to Holy Spirit, decide for me for God, because that will bring you to the present moment, to the right mind, so you can look
Mm,
at it with the Holy Spirit. Because you want to bring yourself out of fear to be able to look at it with
yeah,
the Holy Spirit.
yes.
Hmm.
Yes, because that's really all that it is fear.
Yes,
All a
and
bunch
that's,
of fear stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And healing is the release of fear. So the lessons are really good for helping
Hmm.
us to shift that perception out of fear and to see that those memories and images that I'm seeing are not real.
Yes. But I couldn't recall that particular lesson when that occurred. This was a couple days ago. But anyway, so yes, it seems to me a lot of the lessons just sort of dissipate from my consciousness. Um,
Yes. So you want to have just a little one that you can always remember. So for me, it's if I notice I'm not, I'm in fear or something, it's always Holy Spirit, decide for me for God. So you want to pick something that will be
yeah,
like, oh yeah, it's a reminder, of course. That's what I really want,
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You decide for me. This is not truth.
Yes, exactly. So it's a call for
Yeah,
help because I'm recognizing
yeah,
I am not in a position to help myself here.
yes.
Hmm.
Well, a call for love
It's a call for love. Yeah.
and forgiveness.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So, okay. Um,
Thank you.
okay. So let's see. Okay, 7.
Number 7.
Joining with him in seeing is the way in which you learn to share with him the interpretation of perception that leads to knowledge. You cannot see alone.
Mm.
So sharing perception with Him whom God has given you teaches you how to recognize what you see. It is the recognition that nothing you see means anything alone. Seeing with Him will show you that all meaning, including yours, comes not from double vision, but from the gentle fusing of everything into one meaning, one emotion, and one purpose. God has one purpose which He shares with you. The single vision which the Holy Spirit offers you will bring this oneness to your mind with clarity and brightness so intense you could not wish for all the world not to accept what God would have you have. Behold your will, accepting it as His, with all His love as yours. All honor to you through Him and through Him unto God. Okay. Yes, so joining with Him, Holy Spirit, in seeing is the way in which you learn to share um, the true perception that leads to knowledge. Um, so this is a process of removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is true perception. So we rely on the Holy Spirit because we cannot see alone. So when we try to do things on our own, that is the belief in separation. We try to do things alone, on our own. A separate, self-sufficient, independent self, um, ego body. Um, and that's a very limited fearful state. Okay, so sharing perception with Him who God has given you teaches you how to recognize what you see. So the Holy Spirit vision is um, the our true our true mind that can recognize what truth is. Um, and so when we're looking at our ego thoughts and the projections, it is the recognition that nothing you see means anything alone. Okay, so it is the recognition that everything that we see, we have given the meaning, because it's going to be a projection or it's going to be an extension. So things don't have meaning in and of themselves in the world like we think they do, because they don't operate independently, autonomously. I mean, that's the appearance, but it's not true. Yes, so seeing with Holy Spirit shows you that all meaning, including yours, comes not from double vision. So we don't want to go into the duality, into the opposites. We want to bring everything together so that we can see the wholeness and the oneness, without opposition, without opposites. There are no opposites. Yeah, opposites are not true. So we are all one self. So what I offer you, I am really offering myself, because there's no separation. It's one creation, one emotion, one purpose. Let's see, one emotion is love. So the Course says, there's two emotions, love and fear, but really, fear is not real. So it's only one. It's only love that's real. And so the one purpose is the purpose of forgiveness. That's our only purpose. That's what the Course teaches. Because forgiveness is the way that we learn that attack is not real. You see, it has no impact or effect on us when we forgive it. So let's see. Behold your will, accepting it as His. Okay, so the Holy Spirit is holding the knowledge that the will of God is our will. It's the same will. So the voice for God represents the knowledge that we are not separate from the will of God, because we are the will of God. And so it's the same will. And that's really a recognition that the power of God is also the power that we share with God. And therefore we are invulnerable to anything that is not real. So we don't have to be afraid of anything that is an imagining, a making of our own ego thought system. You see, so the Course says, do not be afraid of the ego. Well, it's not real. Do not be afraid of your imagination. It's not real. Yeah. Do not be afraid of what you believed happened that never happened. Okay. So do not be afraid of the delusions that we have made, because they're not real. So, do not be afraid of insanity, because it's not real. Do not be afraid of fantasy, because it's not real, no matter how vivid it is. It's still just an imagining. So, yeah, so the sharing of perception with the Holy Spirit is the discernment between what is true and what is false in our own mind. Okay. Okay, so anything, Connie, before we stop? And it kind of starts out right here in the first paragraph. It's interesting. It starts out with, what do you want? And then it goes at the very bottom and it kind of ends with, line 8, behold your will, right? Accepting it as His. So, so it's really emphasizing that this is, we are not a victim here. The mind is powerful, and it is about deciding what it is that we truly want. Now, if the mind is confused, well, then we're not going to, we're going to be deciding in, you could say, in not our best interest. That's why we call on the Holy Spirit, because we recognize we've done that many, 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 many times. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, we'll be going on to the next section, the holy meeting place. Okay. All right, Connie. See you next time. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, gosh.